Hello and welcome to At the Root of Knowledge. I am your host, Philip Rabarzik, and with me is my co-host, Daniel Sheck. In this episode, we are going to be having a general conversation, just shooting the breeze, talking about what's on our minds. So, good evening, Daniel. How are you?
Better than I deserve, Phil. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. So, what would you like to talk about first, or do you have any things that have been heavy on your mind lately?
Well, heavy on my mind. That thing about balance, the last conversation we have, that has been heavy on my mind because I find myself a lot being really stretched out, especially recently. I've been busy with a lot of things, and it's like you ask yourself, how much should I allow myself to slow down and just enjoy, a day off once in a while. That's been one thing that's heavy on my mind because I feel a lot like I'm just behind, between work and other things I'm doing. I'm getting married soon, so there's been a lot of pressure to make money, and I've sacrificed, sleep and other things, and it's like, how many social events do I go to? That's been kind of heavy on my mind. Letting a lot of my projects go to the wayside because
I can agree with that for me as well. After that conversation for balance, it's been really eye-opening, paying attention to how I'm trying to balance my life, and it has been really difficult to try and make time for everything, and then also to decide what takes precedence. Like you mentioned, getting the proper amount of sleep, and just taking enough time to relax, to be rejuvenated for the next day. I found myself kind of struggling on, like, what should I say is the proper amount of sleep? What should I say? Hey, when should I be able to say that I can take a break for do I say I can take a break for a day? Do I say I can take a break for a couple hours? Do I have to tough it out till
the end of the week?
Right. Do I have to tough it out till I have a Christmas vacation and say that that's my break? Or so yeah, I've been struggling with that too. It's something that I've one question I keep asking myself is, like, going back to the what's important, what takes precedence over everything else, and trying to pay for college without taking out student loans or something like that. Like, there's a significant amount of pressure there, and trying to make money, and also picking up side work, and then having projects that I want to do for fun and stuff like that. It's been very interesting. I find myself, I keep trying to tell myself to keep going, and at the same time, I keep trying to tell myself to slow down, because I feel like it's not, I won't be able to maintain the productivity that I'm at for over a long period of time without a significant break,
right?
Without being able to stop for a little bit.
I find myself telling myself that I'm going to be able to do all this stuff, like, I'll be able to do all this stuff. I'll get all this accomplished, I'll get this project done and that project done, and it won't even be an issue. And then, the weekend comes, and I feel like I promised to myself to do too much stuff. I try and do too much in too little time, or convince myself that I am going to do more than I actually am able to or willing to, because I've gotten in like a kind of a routine, which isn't the healthiest thing, but I might work 12 hours 11 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours, 10 hours, depends on the day, but I'll have a long day and then I'll get home and be like, okay, it's my time to relax now. And when you work 12 hours, you can only afford to get so many hours of relaxed time before you gotta sleep, you know. And if I do another side job or something comes up after work, like you're already, by the time you get home, you're already at like 9 hours of sleep. But I'll still find myself a lot of times just staying up and, watching TV or just hanging out with people when it's like I should be going to bed.
Yeah, I find myself doing that a lot too. I'm in a different situation, obviously, trying to balance school and work, but it's still the same thing, putting in a significant amount of hours every day, usually at least 8, and most of the time it's more like 10 to 12, and then trying to, like you said, have time to relax in the evening before I have to go to bed. And I'm always like reluctant to go to bed, I'll say, because I want to get more things accomplished. But then by the time I finally do wind up going to bed, it's far later than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wake up the next morning and wind up asking myself, why do I stay up so late? Because I know I'm going to be miserable in the morning.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely run myself shorter than I should. I mean, I might, some people, I know people, it's like they get 5 hours a night, they're fine. Like, that's all they've gotten for years and years. I know a few people like that. I'm not like that. Like, I feel like crap if I consistently get less than 7 hours of sleep. I'll just feel horrible after a while. And, I've been running on 5.5, 6 hours of sleep over the last, ever since June, really. I've really started to run myself short on school shortly after I graduated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also for the weekends for me, I'll find myself midweek or so. I'll look forward to the weekend and be thinking I'll have time to relax and.
You're busy on Saturday.
Yeah, and then I wind up being busy.
And then Saturday night
and
comes.
And then Saturday evening, I wind up picking up something on the side.
Mm.
And then Sunday, I wind up having a busy day trying to either like this Sunday record a podcast, or on other Sundays I'll have homework that I have to try to accomplish before it's due, which I try to put that in. I've tried to put that in as a part of my schedule on weekdays, and I'm having a hard time following through with it. It just seems like after I go to classes and then go to work and get home, I don't have any more brain power or
motivation.
Motivation left to do much of anything else. So it's just kind of try to unwind before I go to bed.
I was in the same boat with you when I was going to UC before I transferred. I was like, I knew going into school, it's like, I'm not going to do homework in the evenings. Won't happen. Will not happen. And I knew that. I'm like, I've been so what I did was I would wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd go to school. I'd go to the library. The campus is completely dead because everybody's asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning by the time I got there. And if you got there early, the added benefit was you could get a close parking spot for free, because I'm not paying $250 a month for a parking spot. It's just ridiculous. But I would so I'd get there really early, and sure, that limited me on the amount of time I could spend doing homework because I only had till 8 or 9, depending on when my first class was that day. But that limited me to like 3 or 4 guaranteed hours per day. But I could get most everything done, and then when I didn't, I would try and do between classes, and then what I didn't, I would try and do on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
That was my way around that, because like I knew, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna sit in a desk all day and then come home and do homework. It's like, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I was like that in high school too. Just not my gig. I don't like.
See, in high school, I had I had a couple different ways of doing it in high school. One way was very similar to that, where I would go to classes and then sleep. I would try to go to sleep around like 7 or 8 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then do homework till I had to go to class at. I would have had to leave at around 6 o'clock, so I would have had 2 to 3 solid hours
Mm-hmm.
of homework, which was good because there's nothing going on either, so there's not a lot of distractions. But the one downside to that was the very limited time in the evenings before I was trying to go to bed. And then as well, I did for a period of time do it in the evenings. I would wake up, half an hour or 45 minutes before I had to go to school, and then I would go to school all day and then come back, and I had a period of time where I would be able to have free time to do some outside activities, and then went to homework till I would basically get it done for the day. And the only problem with both of those situations and trying to apply them now is neither one was I trying to balance a job with school.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be
Which-
difficult.
Right, that becomes one of the hardest factors is trying to balance the job there, because that's taking up 30 hours or so a week, not counting if I pick up side work, which most weeks I am picking up 5 to 10 hours. So that's, be on the generous side, say that it's 10 hours. So that's already a 40-hour week.
Yeah, that's a lot on top of going to school.
Right, plus school. So, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about it. Like I've decided to take on these tasks, It's not like this like I didn't want this. I knew this was how it was going to be, but it is difficult trying to balance it. And I would say that's one of the hardest things. One of the things that's been heavy on my mind is that, and when can I say that I can take a break from it?
Right, like when am I going to give myself Saturdays off
Mm-hmm.
and not feel bad about it?
Right, because I did one day I did take a Saturday off, and I felt terrible. It was
like there's so much stuff I should have done.
right, and I still wound up doing stuff half of the day anyway,
Mm-hmm.
picking up side work and all that. So I wound up getting guilty about it, and then just working at a different area. So I didn't really take the whole Saturday off, I guess, but I do feel like I should give myself like a day where I can focus on nothing.
Right, not. Or whatever
Right,
you want to
well-
focus on.
Well, the other thing there is, like, those are working and going to school. That's two major areas in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of smaller areas that are getting ignored because of it. If all that's taking up 12 or so hours a day, maybe more, then I'll wind up not having time to do laundry, for instance, or even eating sometimes. Sometimes I won't have time to eat breakfast, and then won't have time to pack a lunch, say, or won't have, so I'll wind up eating just dinner one day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does. It's been bleeding into a lot of other areas of my life, and then another thing's like just keeping my living areas straight and keeping them clean and everything.
Right.
That's something that I've struggled with my entire life, but now I'm like, I'm considering, like, maybe I have one day, just for instance, one day a month where, like, one Saturday a month where it's like, okay, this Saturday I'm going to work for 8 hours. Instead of working at 8 hours at a job, I'm going to work 8 hours in my living spaces, and I'm going to put everything in order as best I can so I can be as efficient as I can. So, like, I'll put my room together nicely. I'll do all of my laundry so I have clean clothes and everything. I'll clean everything, and then do I have a work truck. So then cleaning out my work truck, making sure all of my tools are accessible, and
Right.
making myself as efficient as possible.
Right. Not to distract from what you're saying, I think that's an excellent idea to schedule in time. But one thing I've found, I've had issues with keeping up with laundry and, just keeping things organized, making sure everything goes back in its place, keeping it all, all well organized. And one thing I've found that has been really helpful is just making it as easy as you can to keep it organized. Like, make the spot as convenient as possible to put it back where it belongs or whatever. And, make it as simple as you can and make it as easy as you can. And that's helped me a lot. Keep stuff straight. Obviously, you can't apply that to everything, but...
Right. No, I think you're on the right track there as well. Just trying to keep things in order, and while doing that, keeping it as simple as you can. I mean, one, like my work truck, that's what I try to do there. The way I rationalized it was that I would put the tools that I use the most would be easily accessible.
Right.
And obviously I have like a couple of tools, like a small screwdriver and a flashlight. Those are the ones that I keep on me at all times. But then I have one toolbox that I use a lot, so that one stays where I can open a door and get it right away. But then I have other stuff that's kind of further packed under stuff that I might not use as much. So yeah, I think you are on the right track there.
Right. Like, I mean, seems like every time I clean my room, I try and streamline at least one or two things, like come up with a better way or come up with a new place for this. That's just more convenient. Laundry's a big thing. I'm not going to do laundry every day.
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't even do it. Well, every week is probably the most I'll do laundry, in doing the job I'm doing. And it's just, that's probably the most I'm going to do it. So it's another thing I need to work on, is like a better way. Because I got like a kind of a system, but a better way to keep the laundry straight and out of the way. And still easy to put in the right spot.
Yeah, that's a joke that I have with my mom and I have. We have, it takes all of 4 hours or so to wash all of my clothes, and then it takes 5 to 10 business days for me to actually put them away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wind up leaving them in a basket, and or I'll get them all folded and then they'll sit on my bed for till I have to go to sleep, and then I'll move them to somewhere else because I'm not. I will be as honest as I can be. I'm not going to put clothes away when I'm tired. That is,
Right.
I won't do it.
Right. Yeah, it's hard though. Like, when you got other stuff you got to do, whether it's laundry or like maybe you're working on a project. Like me, I do tobacco, right? So I kind of try and keep an eye on it. And
Right, and you have to. The one thing with tobacco is like you have to. If you neglect it, it's gonna go bad, and like then that ruins your entire project.
right,
So you need to. You have to. That's something that you have to. You can't just blow it off.
right,
Which, I mean, you can say the same thing about like school. It's like my grades. If I neglect so many homework assignments, then my grades are gonna go down. My grades go down, then I'm gonna fail. So I have to pay close enough attention to that. But at the same time, if I get so overwhelmed that I wind up, who knows what, I wind up not being able to complete task, or I wind up not being able to write well or something, then even though I work on the homework, it may not turn out well.
right.
So yeah, I think there's a balance there that has to be found too.
Yeah, I mean, but the point I was trying to make is like, for example, with the tobacco, you need to keep an eye on it. It's like, well, what happens when you leave for work, at 7 o'clock in the morning, shortly after you wake up, in my case, and then don't get home till 9 or 10 o'clock at night because you either worked that late or you worked and then you had something else that you committed to be at. It's like by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, it's not like you want to go spend time and do laundry or, do stuff like that. And, I've had entire weeks like that. And then you're like, you get home and it's just like a mess. It's like, stuff. Because stuff just got neglected. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's something I'll definitely have to learn more about as far as
Time
it's
management.
it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And I've had periods in my life when it's been really good. In my opinion, and I felt like everything was really well organized. I had my time very well sorted. But I think all those times I was working less than 40 hours a week, or 40 hours a week at most, maybe 45. So it was a lot easier. And I also wasn't getting ready to get married. I didn't have a, fiance, girlfriend.
Right, and I think that's just coming along with taking on more responsibility.
Right.
I had a period in my life that was very similar to what you were just describing. I think it's probably 9 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like 9 months ago. But yeah, I was extremely organized. Every minute, it seemed like every minute of my day I had planned out, and I would keep that plan too. I did that for 6 or 7 months. I was extremely organized and extremely disciplined in my time, and then just having to take on more and more responsibility for more and more things. It just becomes harder and harder, and things have to go by the wayside.
Right, you got to readjust your system, otherwise you won't be. You spread yourself so thin, you're gonna rip somewhere, and that's just how it works.
Right. Yeah. So
Yep.
I wanted to pose a question to you. When is taking a break okay? First of all, when is taking a break okay on the daily basis. So, like in a day, when should you take a break? Say at work.
Mm-hmm.
In a week, when should you take a break? And then, I guess instead of going through like month and year, we'll just say over a large period of time, when should you take a break?
Okay.
And how long should each break be, in your opinion?
All right. So here's my answer to that. Well, when you're at work, you shouldn't break more than is allotted for with your wages, if that makes sense. If you're working for yourself, you take as much breaks as you want, you know what I mean? As long as you're not making somebody pay for you not doing anything. So that's what I say with work.
So,
unless it's
for instance, if you are given an hour for a lunch break,
then you can take
then
an
you
hour
take
for
an
lunch.
hour for lunch.
Yeah, or less, or more, or whatever. It depends on how it's set up. But
Right.
that'd be my opinion. Or let's say it's, you're working 16 hours. It's like, I got to break and take dinner. Then, stop and eat dinner. You can't expect yourself to work if you're going to fall over or pass out because you're so hungry. So that's with work. For all of the rest of those questions, a weekly basis, or even if you're talking about work, but it's work you're doing and work you're not getting paid for, or, schoolwork or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I say you got to look at it and you've got to just decide, really, what's more important to you. That break, taking stepping back and relaxing, or is it more important that you stay? Because as long as, I say more or less, make the schedule you want to work to. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to take a day out of the week where you do absolutely nothing, or 2 days out of the week where you do absolutely nothing, and that's kind of how you want it to be set up, go for it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, as long as
the problem
you decide.
I've been having in that situation is I may want to take a day out of the week, but at the same time I have these goals set that I want to meet, and I feel that if I'm going to meet those goals, I have to, like, I can't take the break, otherwise I won't meet the goal. If you see what I'm saying there.
I do, and I would say to that, I would try and set it up so that you feel comfortable, content with the decision you make. Which is hard to do because, in one way it's like, oh man, I've had those weekends where it's just like I get out of the weekend and I feel like crap. Like, man, I just worked all weekend. I just completely wasted that on working and doing productive stuff. It's like, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go hiking. I wanted to work on a side project. I wanted to get more sleep. I've felt that way all the time. And the other way around, it's like I should have done more stuff this weekend. I haven't had a weekend like that in a while, but so I don't think I really have the right answer for you, but try and reach a point, and I think it's going to be different for different individuals where they're most content and most confident in the decision they make. I know that's not really a great answer, but like, if you're like, if you think it's more important that you spend, whatever, 5 weekends out of the year going on vacation, or 5 weeks out of the year going on vacation, then I would say, if you think that's actually more important than the other things you've got going on, or equally important, or important enough to allot for that much time, then go for it,
Right. And another thing that I think adds into that is, like, what's your state in life is right now. Because I do think, like, I'll use the word vacation. Having a vacation is an important thing. I do think that. And I'm sure there's people out there who would say no. You shouldn't take vacations. But anyway, I do think that's important. But at the same time, I feel like at the state in life that I'm in right now, I'm trying to focus all of my efforts on putting my life together as best I can, or at least laying a solid foundation for that. So I don't feel like a vacation is warranted. I had the opportunity to go on a vacation in, I believe it was late August of this year. I had the opportunity to go on a road trip, and I procrastinated about whether I wanted to go or not, and then eventually I decided that I wasn't going to go. And that was on the basis that I had more important things that I needed to be doing, and to take out that much time from those other things, such as my job, that wouldn't be the right decision. So I do think like your state in life has a lot to do with it will affect the decisions that you make quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to, I think, for most people, it usually comes down to some amount of sacrifice. If you can, I believe if you can try and set things up so that you don't feel like you're giving things up, which a lot of times is just a matter of, I think, just asking yourself a question. Do I want to do this? But not to go down a bunny rabbit hole. If you can, set it up so that you are, where was I going with this? What were we just talking about?
Scheduling, how making the decision on whether you
right,
whether you need to take a break
that's
or
what
not.
I was gonna say. Right, I think it's ultimately like if you want to achieve anything great, anything worthwhile, it's gonna require sacrifice in some area, which maybe there's not any way you're gonna get that 4.0 and be able to pay for school and stay out of debt and stay afloat and pay rent or whatever, make ends meet. Maybe there's no way you'll be able to do that and still enjoy your life. Like maybe if that's your goal and that's the most important thing, maybe that means you can't take a vacation. Maybe that means you can't have a day off.
Yeah, one thing that just came to me when you said that is, you said maybe that means that you can't enjoy your life. It's like, well,
did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't mean you can't enjoy your life, but you can't.
Well, the thing there is
do
like,
the other things you want to enjoy.
It's like, well, I think like that's part of the sacrifice. It's not enjoying your life for that period of time makes it to where you'll be able to enjoy your life that much more if you're able to accomplish this stuff. Like, say I'm able to have a 4.0, and let's look at the long term here for a minute or two. So I'm able to work full time and go to school full time over the next 8 to 10 years and become a doctor. But in order for that to happen, and I'm completely debt free, I go to a fairly well known school, and so I now have my doctorate degree. But in order for me to do that, in order for me to be able to accomplish that, I have to be absolutely miserable for 8 years straight.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm sure for many people who have gone through that, what you were just describing, had to make that decision or ask themselves that question anyway. Um, yeah, it's a matter of what's more important to you. I guess you got to look at the long view and the short view, and there's some stuff like I I try and keep the future in mind when I make decisions. This is what I try and do consciously, and plan ahead and make decisions for the future as well as I know how. But I'm more on the side of especially more recently, I've really tried to put more emphasis on the just enjoy what you've got right now side of it. Sometimes you just have to make sacrifices, but I'm more inclined to just try and relax, pick up a hobby, because do something you enjoy on the side, whether it's growing tobacco, which is something I always wanted to do, or making wine, or keeping bees, or working on blacksmithing stuff, or carpentry, or whatever, cars, souping up go-karts. I'm more inclined to be like, spend your time doing that type of stuff, hiking, going skydiving, go travel, just have fun, enjoy your life. And it doesn't have to, it's not, it's on a spectrum. It's not like it's 100%. You've got to murder yourself 100%.
Right. It's not your life revolves around work for 6 months straight, and then for the next 6 months you get to have the time of your life, and then that's what you do every year.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that I need to really work on is making something similar to what you were just describing, to where I can enjoy myself enough in the short term to where I am not, I'm not bitter at myself for not giving myself the time to do the things that I might like to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I need to make it to where that while I'm enjoying my life now, I can also enjoy my life in a year and in 5 years and in 10 years when hopefully the fruits of my labor pay off, post-graduation.
Right. And that was another thing I was thinking about, to some extent, and I think you're in a similar boat as I am. You can choose how much labor, work you put into things that you can still get away with. You know what I mean? You can always get away with putting, not always, but you could probably get away with putting less time and energy into what you're doing and still get by. So you've got to choose, but you might choose to work harder because you want the bigger payoff. But from my thinking, it's like eventually, I think you kind of lose that choice. And because I'm thinking about this for my future. I plan on getting married in 6 months, and I see myself very much likely having children soon and having a house before, a few years from now. Who knows how many kids I'm going to have 5 years down the road. I won't have a choice but to work hard because that's what life is going to demand from me. You know what I mean? So from my perspective, it's like might as well take advantage of making it, taking advantage of the low stress, low responsibility, carefree times. Take as much advantage of it now as I can.
Right. Well, the other thing there is like, once you start a family and you start having kids, your life becomes like you're not the most important thing anymore.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a selfish way, like that you're all you care about. It's just you have other people who you are now responsible for. And
Right.
especially like in infancy, you are 100% responsible. Well, I guess you could say 50%, being married, but as a couple, which I mean in marriage you are becoming one. So
Right.
as one, you are now both responsible for each other and now responsible for a infant that is completely dependent. So it does become significantly less about you.
Right.
And-
Which is
and
why
I
I'm
don't-
just trying to say, like, as from my perspective, it's like, go take it easy while you can. But that's not necessarily all the always the best approach. Sometimes
Right, because you can
you
say
gotta give 100%.
yeah, because you can say take it easy, and then maybe if you take it easy now, 6 months down the road, you might not have enough money as you need to.
Right. I mean,
to-
don't take it.
I'm not.
too,
I'm not saying you're in dire straits for money now, or
Right.
I'm just saying hypothetically, you might not have enough money to support a family or to have a house, and
Right.
maybe there's other considerations that need to be made there. Like, okay, do we push this off for a little while till we can?
Raise the funds.
Right. But
And that's the game I've kind of been playing for a while now, and I'm probably gonna play for the rest of my life because it's the same game I've seen most married people I know play, and that's it's just ongoing decision after decision after decision. You got to decide how much you're gonna work. You got to decide whether or not you're gonna work locally or not. You're gonna decide whether or not you're willing to go into debt. You're gonna decide when you're gonna take these expenses on. Yada yada yada. And like for me, it was like I already know how much money I need to make over the next year. I already know how many hours roughly I have to work. I already know how much I can spend because I've already got it all mapped out. So anything, the way I do it, the way I've been doing it is and this is just really in regards to money. If I fall short, like if I come up short 1 month for money, then I'll work side jobs or I'll work extra hours on my regular job to make up for the money. And if I have extra money, then more than I scheduled my, know I need for like agreed things for saving for a house, saving for a new car, blah, 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 all that stuff. If I got extra money, then I'll either throw some money, that's kind of like, usually what I'll do is I'll split it so that some of the money goes into a fund, save it for something. I might spend some of the money for something else. It depends on the month. But usually what I do is I'll take the majority of that chunk of money and I'll throw it at the next month. So I don't have to work as many hours the next month. And that's kind of my attitude is work as many hours as I have to make ends meet, but not, don't try not to go crazy working because, I don't know, maybe I'm just a wimp, but like, I know some people, they'll work 70, 80 hours a week. It's like, I don't get that. I hit like 60, 65. It's like, no, I am dead.
I was going to say, I have the utmost respect for someone who does that consistently. I know one or two people who do that, and they've been doing it for years. They will work 70, 80 hours a week, and they just keep going. And I have the utmost respect and admiration for them. I do not have if I hit like you said 60 or 65 hours, I've got nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, it's like I'm done. I can't work anymore.
Right, and I've had it where I'll even wind up like making mistakes, like costly mistakes.
Because you're too tired.
Yeah, I've had it several times where I'll be working the one time I had been working, it was on the tail end of a 14-hour day, and I made a costly mistake, and that was my sign that I gotta stop. I cannot do more today, otherwise I'll just mess something up more, and it's not worth it too.
And you just feel like crap once you get so tired. Once you get so tired, you're so run short on sleep because you've worked so many hours. I mean, 65. If you spread it out completely evenly, if you spread out 65 hours over 6 days, that's not terrible. But if you work, for me at least, if I work like 3 14 or 15-hour days straight, that's where the issues start to happen.
Trying to think back on the few times that I've done something similar to that. I do agree with that. I like if I was to go and work a 60-hour week and work and do 12-hour days, I would be much more productive over those 12-hour days as opposed to splitting it up into 8 and 16-hour days or something like that.
Right.
Or 8 and 14-hour days. But still, I found that trying to do that instead of working an 8-hour day is very, very hard for me. At first, the first 2 days I'll say aren't too bad for me, but after that, it really starts to wear, and then on the tail end of it, it's getting to the point where I don't want to use the word unbearable, but it does get to the point where it feels like I have nothing left mentally and physically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough. That is rough.
You workaholics out there, I give a salute to you.
That is rough. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I grow tobacco.
So
That's my
let's change gears to the opposite end then. What if you worked like less? What if you say you work 20 hours a week and you're struggling to work more? Maybe you're struggling to fit in a full-time, maybe you're struggling to
put a 40 hours in.
Yeah, maybe you're struggling to put 40 hours in, and you, for one reason or another, you have school, or
maybe you just don't want to.
Right, maybe you don't want to, maybe you have motivation issues, maybe you're struggling with depression. What's the way you can get out of those patterns, do you think? I mean, obviously we gave some different issues there, and there's different.
I think one of the best motivators, from my experience, is necessity. If you're in a situation where you need the money, or you're in a situation where, you may even know that you're going to need this money by the end of the month or by the end of next month. Whether it's money or a project that has to get done, whatever it is. Necessity, I think, is a great motivator, at least for me, is a fantastic motivator. It's like you got no choice, or at least you convince yourself that you have no choice. Like, this just has to get done. Like, there's no way out of it.
That's very, very good. I think you're on the right track there as well. The other thing that I would want to add to that is responsibility, and let me be a little bit more clear on what I mean by that. I mean responsibility as in you have taken up a responsibility in which now someone is counting on you, which kind of is along the same lines as necessity. But by that, I mean more of like, say you're at the type of job where your boss, you can tell your boss, hey, I can work this many hours or these days. I've found that, just for me at least, telling my boss, luckily I'm in the situation where I can say which days I want to work and how long I want to work. Excuse me. And I found that committing to those days, even just a verbal commitment, has been helpful to me to keep the schedule. So I'll commit to the evenings on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then all day Friday, Saturday. And if I commit to that, I will see it through. But if I don't commit to it, then I'll find I might only work Tuesday and Thursday, and then maybe Saturday. But if I actually if there's a verbal agreement between my boss and I to where we both know I'm here this day, and this day, and then this day and this day as well, all day, I found it a lot. Like, there's I'm not sure what term to use for it, but there's something eating away at me in the back of my head. Like,
the
hey,
need to do it.
Hey, you told them this. If you don't do it, then you're not keeping your word.
You're hedging against your own integrity.
Right. So that's another thing that's helped me get out of a rut where I feel unmotivated. And that's worked for some other things too, like helping volunteering. I've been able to sort of select what days that I would like to volunteer and for how many hours, and sometimes it's a week-to-week thing where I'm just saying, hey, I can come in this day, and I've made an effort now to say plan it out month to month where I can say, hey, I'm going to be there these days, and I'll find that when I do that, my whole schedule will change just slightly so that I can fit it in.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of a subconscious thing, at least with me, where now you know it's there, and it's guaranteed that it's there. It's not like, well, if I fit this other stuff in, then it'll be there. It's just, it's there, and you have to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people, I've heard it several times, like, oh, I don't have the time. Like, it's not a matter of whether or not you have the time. You always have the time. It's just a matter of whether or not it's important enough for you to move other things out of the way of that time.
Yeah, I've heard similar sayings about everyone has the same 24-hour day. But I do agree with that. It comes down to what you decide to make the time for.
Right. I mean, it's amazing what you can pick up, like, and devote yourself to when you're already spread very thin. But if it's important enough to you, you will, you know.
Yeah. I think this has been a very, very good conversation. I think it's been nice to have.
It's kind of just been like a continuation of the last one and more
Yes.
applied to our personal
Yes,
life.
but it's been helping me more applied to my personal life, and also to just to be able to talk out some things that I've been struggling with in my head, and now having someone to have an outside view on it is nice. And if anyone out there wants to have their voice heard, we'd love to hear it. Any advice on balancing a job while trying to go to school, whether that be high school or college or anything? I would much appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if anybody's got any good techniques for curing tobacco. I've been trying a few different things, but not very many people that I know have been in charge of the process beginning to end. I've gotten more successful, but there's not a ton of information. So if we got anybody out there who is growing their own tobacco or curing their own tobacco, we'd love to hear from you too.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we covered a lot of different topics there. We covered some of the topics that we've covered before. Finding balance, and talked about taking breaks and if you should take breaks. Just a lot of applying that to life as well.
Yeah. And one thing we didn't really get into, but I would just like to mention before we close. I think a lot of what you talk to with applying your time and scheduling your time also applies to your money.
I agree with that.
Very much overlap. It's like, how strict am I going to be with my time? How strict are you going to be with your money? How much of your money are you going to blow? You're going to blow a lot of it? Well, choose how much you're going to blow. Maybe you want to give half of it away, and maybe that's fine.
I think it applies to life.
Well, yeah. Your resources, everything you've got to give.
How strict are you in your life, And that, I think that just bleeds into everything. It bleeds into how much of a structure you have in your time, how much of a structure you have in a budget, how much of a structure you have in your family life, or how much of a structure you have in your relationships and and in your living space even. I think it all kind of bleeds together there.
How much am I going to let go of this and kind of just be unstressed about it versus, yeah, I think you're right. I find myself asking myself that same question all the time. Like, how dirty am I going to let my room get? Like, what is acceptable to let slide versus what do I actually have to clean up now and worry about? Same with time, same with money, same with everything. Well, thank you, Phil, for talking to me. And
well, you're very welcome. I was happy to
me
have
at
the conversation.
Studio. Yep. Well, until next time, thank you. We would love to hear from you from our email at therootofknowledge@gmail.com. We're on YouTube now, so you can watch our videos through YouTube. We are also on Spotify, Podbean, and we have a Facebook and Instagram account, so you can follow us at The Root of Knowledge. And both those places, you guys take it easy. Bye-bye.